Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. Super Bowl 57. The Kansas City Chiefs are the 2022 NFL season champion, defeating the Eagles. The number one seed matchups come through again. A back and forth game. Great plays on all sides. For a neutral fan, this was fun. Both Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, I mean, truly, they played like a game you would expect from the MVP and the runner-up MVP. They both played great. And I started this podcast around playoff football. My love for thrilling moments of just, there's so much grinding and rolling and smashing chaos that gets turned into legend, stories, NFL history. And it's all happening there in real time. And the results are in. The bets are tallied. The Gatorade for Andy Reid was purple. Chris Stapleton national anthem, just under 205. Shout out to Dad, who was 6-4-6 on his player props in the preview. And he says he would have gone all overs. He only went under on Miles Sanders so as to not go all overs. Ended up being a 6-for-6. Awesome stuff. He says it was all luck. But hey, take it. I like the Super Bowl. I like all the things. I like football. I like all things football. And I like Super Bowl day. You know, it's the fun. It's like where we gather around and watch sports and live music together. That doesn't happen very often anymore. It's sort of becoming a tribute to a time that is going away. You know, with the amounts of content and streaming and internet and our siloed experiences now, this is almost like a holiday for the way we used to do it with TV. Had a fun time. We went over to the family. Uncle Daryl had a great idea to buy $10 anytime touchdown tickets from the local casino, something that we could not do prior to this. It just became legal in Washington, I believe, this year. And then we drew them out of the hat. So it's just a bunch of different players, $10 tickets on anytime touchdowns. And that led to some fun. You know, Jalen Hurts, one of the kids had Jalen Hurts, and that was like the first drive. They're done. They got their money. Baby Luke won A.J. Brown. Olivia was the Hurts. Kelsey was in there. I cashed mine. I got Pacheco. So it also led to some fun bad beats. I think it was Troy who had Devonta Smith, who anytime touchdown Devonta Smith ticket owners will be just sick about that wide open pass late in the fourth quarter. He catches it and steps out of bounds at the 2. Or as Troy said, thankfully not the 1. That would have been embarrassing. And of course, my poor wife Kathleen, who had a Jerick McKinnon anytime touchdown bet. She had that ticket as he slides to the 1 to waste the clock for a field goal instead of scoring the touchdown. The right strategic play. I think we're all a little bummed about it. Like, just kind of all just have to begrudgingly admit. First of all, it would have been fun to see him score the touchdown, celebrate. They're going up. It would have been fun to see Jalen Hurts try to match that and get that touchdown. But it was the right thing to do within the confines of the rules from the Kansas City Chiefs perspective. And shout out to my Aunt Pam, who needed a Mahomes rushing TD. And so while all the rest of us are shouting at Mahomes to get down and not get hurt again, because he did re-injure that ankle here at the end of the first half, Aunt Pam is shouting, "Keep going!" It was just good fun. Good fun. This was Super Bowl Sunday supposed to be about. I always think of my mom at this time, just because, you kind of time travel. Second half of a close Super Bowl, you're kind of, you're time traveled to watching the Cowboys and Bills in the early 90s and the Packers and Broncos in the late 90s and all the different Patriots games and all the upsets. And it's time travel. That's really what it is. So pretty cool. this game was competitive, down to the wire, as I said. Second in a row that we've had. That was a good game. Bengals and Rams, I guess Bengals and Rams had a good ending, but what I forgot, because I was kind of revisiting the Super Bowl 56 prior to this, what I forgot is like Burrow and Stafford really were hampered at the end of that game. Their own injuries, as well as just their weapons, were not performing. Burrow's offensive line, Stafford's receivers, outside of Cooper Kupp, there were 7 punts in a row before the Cooper Kupp drive. This one was not like that. This one had 3 huge touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Big drives by Mahomes, big drives by Hurts, wild swings, huge defensive plays, special teams plays, all sorts of stuff. Similar to Super Bowl 56, though, well, of course, all we're talking about tonight is a controversial penalty. And I do feel, I guess, I'll talk about it more as we go through the game, but to rip the Band-Aid off on it, I don't feel like this is the worst call in the world. So it was about 3rd and 8. Late in the fourth, the Chiefs are in the red zone. They appear to throw an incomplete pass to Juju Smith-Schuster in the back of the end zone there. Holding on James Bradbury, the corner for the Eagles, and the broadcast is just talking about how it wasn't really a hold. Now, I think the actual hold was not shown on the broadcast. It was like where they paused it was not what was called. And they just could not get that. But the hold that had come, it just, I don't know. I wouldn't have called it. We'll talk about it more. It's not worse than Logan Wilson hold on Cooper Kupp last year. The Chiefs deserve this win. The call should not mar it. So, yeah, let's just start going through the game here. The first half, a lot of good commercials. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Shout out to the Tubio commercial that had a very realistic simulation of someone switching your programming to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And we're all looking around, who's got the remote? Who's got the remote? Erica from Stranger Things appeared to yell at Will Ferrell, say he's not really Dusty. Check out my Stranger Things podcast with my wife. Now that Mukilteo football show is winding down, I can go back to my Stranger Still podcast at StrangerStill22 on Twitter. Let's talk first half. Started off great. Chiefs and Eagles both scored touchdowns on their opening drive. Jalen Hurts looking pretty sharp, finding Devonta Smith. Eagles are running up the gut. Boston Scott's out there. The offense is just smooth, man. I just love their motto of never run into a bad look. The RPOs. They got that first touchdown with the famous double cheek push, the quarterback, the rugby style sneak. Jordan Mailata must be something. This is really rugby. He must be a driving force behind this. But the Eagles' offensive line, Jason Kelce, Dickerson, Samolo, they get so low. I don't know that other teams can implement this. It appears to be unstoppable. We got all the stats. It was a 29 for 33 this season, I believe, was the success rate. Today was 6 for 6. So if they did 33 all season, and I didn't really double check those numbers, but they ran it 6 times today that I counted. All at crucial times. The first touchdown, as we're talking about, there was a 3rd and 1 in the early second. There's a 3rd and 1 in the late second. There's a 4th and 1 in the third quarter. And then there were 2 of these rugby double cheek push QB sneaks that the Eagles do on the final drive, on the game tying final drive. So they really used it, and it was a huge part of their ability to score 35 points today. But some people are saying this may be the last we see of that. The rule, there may be some formation rules in place to outlaw that. So if this was the last ride for the Jalen Hurts outlaw sneak, then it had a great last hurrah. 6 for 6 in the Super Bowl, including the first touchdown. Then the Chiefs came back and scored. We're like, oh, okay. There's Pat Mahomes, gets Kelce his 15th or 16th career playoff touchdown, an over-the-shoulder fade. We're 7-7. What a great start to this game. The second quarter started really great as well. Hurts, I think it was the very first play of the second quarter, Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown, bombed down there 45 yards. Looked to me like maybe McDuffie misplayed that ball, and it wasn't exactly a great throw by Hurts, but hey, A.J. Brown didn't misplay that ball. Titans fans, sorry about your bad luck. Crying into their Chantilly lace pillows as A.J. Brown gets a big Super Bowl touchdown. 96 yards in this game. Hey, Devonta Smith's 100 yards. It's a good passing day for the Eagles. And then, how did it get to 14-14? Was that was the Chiefs' defensive touchdown? Oh, yeah, because they actually lined up for the Eagles, got the ball back. They lined up for this unstoppable QB sneak that I've been talking about. Well, apparently it's stoppable by one thing, a false start by the Eagles. Put them at a 3rd and 6, sorry. And that's when Hurts tried to run the ball as a QB draw. The ball gets knocked loose. Nick Bolton, Chiefs linebacker, defensive touchdown. It's 14-14 in the second quarter. Nick Bolton had a good game. Linebacker for the Chiefs, Willie Gay, had a good game. I mean, it's not quite, 1969 Bobby Bell and Willie Lanier out there, but they are an underrated linebacker duo. The story at halftime was Eagles' time of possession versus Chiefs' time of possession. But with this defensive touchdown, it's always too small of a sample. If there's a defensive touchdown, the team that gave up the defensive touchdown is going to have a good, an even better time of possession. So I do think the Eagles controlled the ball, but not as egregiously as this, 20 minutes versus 10 minutes stats that they're talking about on the Fox halftime show. Of course, the halftime show is mostly focused on one of the final plays of the half in which Pat Mahomes on a 3rd and 15, trying to get the Chiefs back into it. Was it still 14-14 at that time? I think the Eagles might have scored. Oh yeah, they did. Jalen Hurts had a couple big runs later on in that drive after the defensive touchdown, and Eagles drove down and got a touchdown, 21-14. So they were down 7, and Mahomes hurts that ankle. 3rd and 15. He's past the line of scrimmage, but he's still pump faking. He's getting tackled just right on the ankle. He's grabbing it, limping it, grimacing. I thought the game was over right there. I told Kathleen, this game's over. How Pat Mahomes came back from this, I don't know. I mean, they did show before the end of the half, they showed some shots of him standing there, some shots of him smiling. Not sure how good of an actor he is, so you could kind of say, okay, he's not out of the game. But the Eagles, as I said, they responded to that defensive touchdown with their own touchdown drive. Jalen Hurts ran another one in and actually had a big 4th and 6 run on that drive. Then they also got a field goal after this Mahomes ankle injury. So they go into halftime 24-14. The Eagles are up by 10 at half. And it didn't feel like the Chiefs, it felt like it deserved to be a tie game, but that ankle, with the ankle and with the late scoring by the Eagles, it just felt like this thing is going to get out of hand. Rihanna's playing, apparently announcing her pregnancy or something. I actually did not see the show because we had Dungeness crab and we were eating it downstairs. We could not eat it upstairs because of my wife's pregnancy, who did not stand the smell of Dungeness crab at this time, which is totally okay. We ate it downstairs. It was delicious. In fact, I went outside and ate some more when I got home. Crab and Super Bowl. That's what you do. So then we begin the second half. And really what I think is truly the Pat Mahomes legacy half. Did he play his best half of football ever? No. But it was essentially perfect for what he was asked to do. So he's asked to do a little bit less, but it was essentially perfect. The first drive, the second half opening drive, I actually forgot it started this way. They got a couple runs. I think they actually got a couple first downs. There was a 1st and 10 where Mahomes scrambled right. And, remember, we're all still worried about the ankle. We are unsure about the ankle. And he just threw one just in a position that, I couldn't get a football 10 yards in the position with the guys tackling him around there and with a high ankle sprain that had just been re-aggravated. I could not have done that. But he gets it 10 yards, and McKelsey catches it right off the turf. That was a big play, I think. was a good sign. And they eventually do score. Pacheco gets that touchdown, cashes my ticket, and makes it 21-24. 5.5 minute opening drive, the second half. Perfect. Things just got darker for Philadelphia from there. What a wild swing. At halftime, we're all thinking Kansas City Chiefs fans might as well start drinking. By the start of the fourth quarter, we're all thinking Philadelphia fans may as well start drinking. I mean, let's face it, they probably both started drinking much earlier. I'm talking about sad drinking. Might as well start sad drinking. The fourth quarter, the Chiefs really came back so fast. I mean, we know that about the Chiefs. They're the best team when down. They were down 10 at half. They were up 8 with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. This is like an 18-minute comeback. It was very quick. So the Eagles, they scored that touchdown. The Chiefs, they scored that touchdown to start the half. Eagles get a field goal. Again, Jalen Hurts playing well today. Chiefs get another touchdown drive. This was the Juju Smith-Schuster drive that put us into the fourth quarter there. Ends with a wide open Kadarius Toney 5-yard touchdown in the right-hand flat. The Eagles two of them went with Travis Kelce. Nobody covered Toney. Touchdown. Eagles are now up by 1. Hurts at that point actually didn't have any heroics. It was Willie Gay, linebacker, kind of forced out Hurts. I think the Eagles went 3 and out. I think it was 3 and out. If they did get a first down, it was only 1. They punted, and Kadarius Toney returns that punt to the 5-yard line. It's just like, oh, it's getting worse for the Eagles here. It was such a great punt return. I loved the elusiveness that he showed early, his speed getting lateral from left side of the field to the right side of the field. And then he downshifted to, because he had all these blockers in front of him. And it was just really incredible to me. Toney got another 20 yards out of that return by not outrunning his blockers. He was going at 70% speed there. I was impressed. Chiefs are at the 5-yard line. They get another touchdown, which is almost the mirror image of the earlier Kadarius Toney touchdown. It's 3rd and goal, and wide open in the left-hand flat is Sky Moore. Chiefs go ahead 35-27, up by 8. They were down 10 at half, now they're up 8. Eagles fans, sad drinking time. Pretty crazy. I do want to shout out something. I want to huge props. Shout out to Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore for catching those wide open passes in the flat for the touchdown. Jackie Smith wishes he had your life. It cannot, I don't know, maybe no one else is talking about this, but it cannot be easy to have nobody around you and catch those super important passes, thinking, if I drop this, I'm a household name in Kansas City forever in a bad way. I don't know. Shout out to them. And those were Andy Reid legacy plays, right? I mean, I can already see the NFL film slow motion of Toney catching it wide open, of Sky Moore catching it wide open. It's like, Andy Reid had befuddled the beleaguered minds of the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, you can already kind of hear the boom, 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 and a smile creeping over Andy Reid's mustachioed mouth. So, Eagles fans are bummed. This is really going on for the Chiefs. I think they get the ball back with about 6-7 minutes in the fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts hasn't exactly been Mr. Comeback because they've been up so much. But Jalen Hurts does orchestrate a great drive. Down 8 to tie it 35-35. They need a touchdown and 2-point conversion, and they get it. Devonta Smith, deep bomb, was the big highlight of that drive. Wide open, some sort of blown coverage. It's a touchdown if Hurts doesn't push it too close to the sideline. Good job by Devonta Smith. Just focus on the catch. Catch it inbounds. Don't worry about getting the touchdown. He steps out at the 2, the 6 and final successful quarterback sneak, the rugby 2-cheek push. Gets the touchdown in. It's now 35-33. And it honestly felt like the Chiefs were just beaten. The Chiefs D-line was just beaten mentally by this point on that QB sneak. Because it was like a 2-yard QB sneak to score that touchdown. They kind of just their hearts weren't even in trying to stop that at that point. The 2-point conversion was the real important thing. Maybe their heart was in conserving energy for the 2-point conversion. I don't know. They shotgun snap to Jalen Hurts on the 2-point conversion. Basically, the play, as far as I can tell, was everyone run to the pylon. So Hurts is running towards the pylon. All of the Eagles' offensive linemen are running towards the pylon. Miles Sanders is a lead blocker. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton are there. Chiefs, they gave Hurts a thump, but he pounds it in. It was a hard hit, too. 35-35 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Wow. At this point, I was thinking that if this Super Bowl ends with some sort of fantastic finish or iconic moment, this could be the best Super Bowl of all time. At this point, I allowed that to enter my mind. There are a lot of good Super Bowls. I mean, considering the full game entertainment, it was going to be my case. I was like, man, because it's been a good game this whole way through. But ultimately, I would not call this final Chiefs drive a fantastic or iconic finish, at least for a neutral viewer like me. It starts and ends kind of meh. It's good, but it's not. There's no helmet catch. There's no Philly special. There's no Joe Montana to John Taylor. And that's okay. Not everything has to be that way. The Chiefs, their job is to score points and win the game, right? Their job is not to put on a television show for us. And I know that. I mean, I kind of know that. I don't know. I kind of know that. But it still had a major NFL Films moment in it. I am absolutely sure of this. The alternating, so we're driving, Mahomes is throwing to Juju, to Kelsey, good Isaiah Pacheco runs, cross midfield to the Eagles 43. The NFL Films moment is Mahomes dropping back, the ankle on our minds. He has a pocket, but nothing is open, and he just starts running on that bad ankle. Remember, it was late second quarter when he seemed to re-aggravate it. Up the middle of the field, all 4 defensive linemen for the Eagles are chasing him. It's terrifying. 26 yards into the red zone. That's going to be the John Elway copter of this moment, because this is the ankle postseason. As I said on my preview show, my individual preview show, this victory is Mahomes' ankle season. That's what this is right now. Then we get that red zone. We get the 3rd and 8. It was James Bradbury, Eagles corner, who held Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm going to walk a line here. I don't think this should have been called. I think the Eagles kind of got robbed on this. Robbed is probably the wrong word, but I think that in the spirit of the play, James Bradbury did not stop a touchdown with an egregious hold. The Fox broadcast makes it much worse because they make it look like he didn't hold at all, because they paused the wrong place. Now, we have had 165 episodes of Mukilteo football. I've never agreed with a single thing Mike Pereira says, because I feel like he's just a shill for the league and for referee status quo. But he was trying to shout it over Greg Olsen, over Kevin Burkhardt, what I thought was a very un-Mike Pereira thing to do. The hold was earlier. The hold was on the top of the route. Not where they're showing Bradbury's hand on the back of his jersey. Like, yeah, there was some contact there too, and maybe that could also technically be called. The real hold was before. Now, even that all said, we got levels here. We got blatant holding, which I don't think this was. Realistic holding call, which I do think this was, but probably shouldn't have been called in this moment. Egregious, NFL is rigged type of call. It's the middle one. It's the middle porridge, people. I just don't think Bradbury affected that route that much. I don't think it was going to be a touchdown. You watch Juju Smith-Schuster's body language. The ball was overthrown. Juju wasn't really beating Bradbury. I don't know. It ends up giving them a 1st and goal, and they do a handoff to Jerick McKinnon, who slides perfectly inbounds at the 1-yard line. Clearly a called play. clearly the goal. They said if you get there, you slide and don't score. Props to Jerick McKinnon, because every boy in America right now, maybe even outside of America, dreams of scoring the game-winning Super Bowl touchdown. Think about how hard it must have been for Jerick McKinnon to slide there. Think about that. It'll probably be remembered in Kansas City for a similar sort of thing, like good job, McKinnon, but it's not going to be on NFL films. You're not going to see that on the montage for the legacy moments of the NFL history. You don't run that in your backyard when you're 14 years old, sliding perfectly at the 1 to preserve the clock. But I just think Jerick McKinnon, for doing that, you deserve all the credit in the world. Ahmad Bradshaw could not do that in the 2007 Super Bowl, and had Tom Brady actually connected with Randy Moss late in that game in 2007 season Super Bowl, he would have been the GOAT forever. And we saw examples of non-slides in the regular season when the team just scored and then the other team came back, and you look back and you reflect and say, hey, if the running back had just kneeled at the 1, they would have won the game, and they ended up losing later. We saw that multiple times. Jets and Browns, week 2 or 3 is the most extreme example, but it has happened other times as well. So that's the game. But let's take a quick break, and then we're going to talk a little bit about MVP and legacy. So, starting with the Eagles, who I really do think this was their shot with this particular team, this Jalen Hurts team. I don't know that Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback that can do this outside of his rookie contract. And I'm saying that in the moment, of course. I was impressed with him today. I mean, he was the second best player in the game today. Pat Mahomes was first, Jalen Hurts was second. And that's saying something, because Mahomes was great. Some of the runs, some of the throws. I remember they spun out and rifled one to Pascal on like a 3rd and 8. He made some of those throws to Goddard on the sideline. There was a play on the game-tying 4th quarter drive. I talked about the Devonta Smith bomb, but there was also a play where they dialed up an all-out blitz, and he read it and hit A.J. Brown for a first down. That's stuff that Hurts was not doing last year. Case in point, wild card game against the Bucs last year. Hurts, I don't think he'll be back to the Super Bowl. I think he's got a good career ahead of him, but I'm calling that now. MVP went to Pat Mahomes. As is tradition, I kind of say who else could have won MVP. Pacheco played his heart out. Kadarius Toney, maybe if he returns that kick, has both touchdowns that help take the lead. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Travis Kelce, of course. Legacy game for him. 16th touchdown. He's now in sole 16th career playoff touchdown. Sole possession of 5th place on that list. He shared it with Gronk. It's now Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas, Franco Harris, Travis Kelce. That's the top 5 playoff career leaders. That's insane. You know how they say the number one bestseller is always second only to the Bible? I think Keith Richards said that because the Bible is always the bestseller. I guess the number one bestseller is always number 2. If you're number 2 to Jerry Rice, then we might as well just call you number 1. And Kelce is. He has the leading receiving yards in playoff career history, second only to Jerry Rice. It's pretty incredible. The offensive line. The Chiefs' offensive line. Football X and O's wise, they're the reason that they won. And I'm just stealing that from Pat Mahomes, who literally said today, quote, "They are the reason we won this game." And they are. We can talk about Mahomes and the ankle and all that stuff and how he gutted through it. He didn't have to test it play after play after play. He was kept pristine today, especially going in with all this hype around the Eagles' pass rush. They had the most sacks. Kirk called it. It was inflated by game scripts. Hassan Reddick may as well not even play in this game. We did not hear from the Eagles' defensive line. 4 guys with 11 sacks this season, and we didn't hear from them. I'm sorry, Fletcher Cox. You're one of my favorite players, but very, very quiet. And that allowed the Mahomes amazing performance on the ankle year. This is the MVP, season, and Super Bowl becomes the first MVP to win the Super Bowl since 1999. Kurt Warner, greatest show on turf. And this is the one you'd make the movie about. Even if Mahomes wins Super Bowls later, this is the one where, he was knocked out by Brady and the Bucs in 2020. He experienced a crushing collapse against the Bengals in the AFC title game last year. What he quoted as him choking. And he pressed, and he did. And then the ankle, the injury, what he played through is incredible. This is Pat Mahomes' day. The star may never be brighter than this. Yes, it's 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them are wide open, and what I assume will be a legendary 26-yard run. But it's the accumulation of it. The star may never be brighter. This man is a superstar. It is awesome to watch Pat Mahomes play football. We should be thankful for this. This is the career we wish Dan Marino was having in the 80s, when he lit the world on fire, space alien passing yards, changed the NFL forever. The NFL said, we want more of that. This is what we wish Marino would have had. It's just incredible. And for Andy Reid, wow, congrats to them. Chiefs are there. If you would like to know if this constitutes a dynasty, I'm not going to get into all that because I already got into all of it in my episode last Sunday. So if you want, you can go check that out. About what a second Super Bowl win would mean. Now you can say, what does it mean? So, all right. Plan for the off season. Going to take a break, work on the Stranger Still podcast. I will be back after free agency and then after the draft. We will also have some Barn Series episodes. My brother and my dad, we always do those. The schedule for that is up in the air, as it always is, but we're planning to do 49ers Cowboys 1981 NFC Championship for sure. And if you want to hear what the Barn Series is and that piques your interest in the feed, you can go see our other 2 that we did last year, the 58 title game between the Colts and the Giants, and the 68 Ice Bowl between the Packers and the Cowboys. Oh, we also have a Christmas Eve episode about the Immaculate Reception between the Steelers and the Raiders. Anyway, Super Bowl 57 is in the books. NFL history is written in stone, and we will move on from here. My name is Miles. Thank you all for a great season. Thank you for people listening. I'll be back. Bye.